Kale the Quick here on Game Mechanics Engineering. In this episode, we'll do a quick review of the various mechanics that constitute guns in the shooters out there today. Later, I'll do more in-depth episodes on each of them where I really get into the mechanics and metaphor, and I'll put annotations and links here so you can quickly find some more info. If you're in the far future, then all these videos are probably done in part of a larger playlist. First, we'll cover some of the basics, things that you really need to have in a game for it to accurately represent a gun at all. So generally when you click your mouse, your computer knows exactly where you clicked. Firearms are not so lucky. A lot of consideration goes into making a gun shoot where you want it, and with fully automatics, even more goes into making it keep shooting where you want it. Mechanically and ergonomically, it's a pretty interesting topic. In-game, this is usually modeled just by having the bullet fly somewhere around where the user clicked. Sometimes the area grows a little when you shoot, making it less accurate over time. This is called the cone of fire, and its change is called the bloom. Another mechanic in there actually moves your cursor, kind of representing how recoil moves the gun in your hands in real life. The general idea with guns is that you shoot something with them, and then it becomes less of a thing afterwards. This is represented by having the gun reduce someone's hit points or otherwise having some sort of effect on the target. There are a lot of things that can affect how much damage a gun does, and over the years we've come up with a lot of ways to represent that in-game. To warn you, ballistics is an actual field of science, so this portion could get pretty technical. Even the most basic computer can see if you've clicked faster than most guns can shoot, and one of the key differences in the guns out there today is how fast they can shoot. Back in the day, it was difficult to get a gun to shoot a lot, but nowadays a bored engineer can make a gun that shoots ridiculously fast. I mean, look at this. This isn't the fastest firing gun ever made, and to have it simulated in-game at 60 frames a second, it would have you adding in more than one bullet a frame. Adding a slight delay to shots in-game is probably one of the easiest things to do from a programming perspective, but changing the rate of fire on a gun in real life has a lot of trade-offs with other factors. And it can be as simple as throwing an eraser in the back of your Uzi, to as difficult as precisely machining the core parts of a firearm. The most basic shooters will not even keep track of ammunition. Of course, in that instance, the gun just has infinity bullets. Contrary to this, there are probably a few hundred different ways to feed a firearm. Magazines versus clips, belts, hoppers, different types of each one of those, different ways that they interact with different mechanisms. There's a wonderful and very long talk about the history by forgotten weapons if you're interested. In shooters, the big one is how many cartridges there are and how quickly you can refill it. Reloading has some pretty interesting nuances to it that to fully represent in a game would probably be complex enough to count as a complete minigame. In recent years, the trend has been to have a long reload and a short reload, and what started as a glitch became reload canceling, which is pretty important in the genre today. Anyone who remembers Gears of War will remember their cool little reload mechanic. Beyond that, some games already model the nuance such that reloading correctly gives you an extra cartridge. There's a lot of interesting stuff that could go into this. I really can't wait to get into further depth. So I think that covers what I would call the core aspects of representing a gun in a shooter-type video game. Accuracy, damage, rate of fire, and magazine or ammunition concerns. Beyond that, there are tons of little things that can be added to deepen the gunplay in-game. A very popular one is mobility. Guns range from big to small, heavy to light. In proper US military parlance, a gun actually only refers to cannons and howitzers or firearms with a bore, which is the internal barrel diameter, over an inch or two, or some arbitrary amount based on how well liked you are in your platoon. And let me tell you from experience, if you try to carry one of those, you will be fucking slow. Small arms have a more nuanced effect. Some games make you slow with big heavy machine guns, and have you run fast with a pistol or knife. That was a good start. Getting around quickly can mean everything in a real battle, and it can be the difference between victory and defeat in-game. Probably the biggest change to shooters was the inclusion of aiming down sights. Hated by purists and liked by anyone who wants a reasonable representation of the capabilities of various firearms in their video games. There's a lot of nuance in here as well, but at its core it's just trading mobility for accuracy. There's a lot that can be done to represent different guns or aspects of them. Different guns lend themselves better to being aimed quickly, or moving quickly, or being more or less accurate when shouldered or aiming down sights. One of the saddest facts of my life is that guns cost money. A bulk order of AKs costs about $100 each from Russia. The Western equivalent, the AR or the M16 or the M4, costs about 10 times as much, and it is not 10 times as good. A few shooters have price in-game, like Counter-Strike or Fallout, but in most of the genre, it's an absent mechanic. Now for the tail end of our rundown. The most infuriating of things to put in a game. How reliable something is. Guns, up until recently, have been pretty unreliable. I'm talking historically here. They practically needed a lab to work. Old muskets could not fire if it was too humid or raining, and in the best of conditions could fire maybe 10 shots before needing to be cleaned. Today, most of the rifles we would want in our shooters are pretty reliable, but some of the fancy, nice ones make a few trade-offs with other mechanics. Durability would not be much better to model. Imagine a fast-paced shooter like Call of Duty with guns wearing out and jamming like Fallout 3. Next time on Game Mechanics Engineering, we're going to take a break from firearms and shooters and talk a little bit about all the words I'm using. What the hell is this show? What is a game mechanic even? Why do I keep saying metaphor? I don't know, but next episode we both will. Let me know what you want to hear, leave your comments where I can find them, and upvote this video so I can get some feedback. I'm Kale the Quick, thanks for watching, and don't die.